Hello everybody, hope you're having a great day. Today I wanted to review some of my tapes. It's kind of more of a opinion video and kind of limelight on the tapes that we've kind of lost here in the past. This being from the days when I was framing a lot more. The Max Steel was pretty much the tape that we used on site, and we went through a lot of these. The reason for it is obvious. When you have a lot of water, when you're working outside doing framing, you get a lot of rust. So these tapes would go through probably once a month easily. When it was raining, maybe every 2 weeks. Regular job site type of usage. Now, at the time, this was a relatively cheap but very useful measuring tape, and the biggest reason why is, especially when I was learning at first how to do framing, if I couldn't remember a number, I could quickly write it down. And, for instance, 96, something that we all work with. But at the same time, I could easily just take my finger to it and wipe it off. And I think this has got a little bit of adhesive on it or has been smudged, but for the most part, this tape, anywhere on it, I could write down a number and quickly work off of it. Something that's kind of been lost with the new lines from Stanley is that you can't really write on these. Even if you do, you're not going to be able to see anything because of how reflective the tapes are now. So, still the same basic format. Still is a 8-foot reach tape. It still has a lot of the overall simple functions to it that any other tape would have, but it is kind of missing the the higher caliber of later tapes, and even the earlier qualities of the original tapes that we were kind of dealing with at the time. I really would love to find more of these tapes. This is something I've held on to for 20 years now and basically tried not to use, just because if I do, maybe I'll get buried with it. I do love this tape a lot, and if somebody is making a new tape that is similar to these, I'd love to know. I did try at one point getting a Milwaukee tape. My biggest issue is the thickness of these tapes. When you're dealing with most measuring tapes, if you have a comfortable for your hand, for thickness, for use, or whatever else, these, obviously for the weight and everything else, it works out well. Weight's similar for these, but they're bulky. It's the biggest issue that I typically have with Milwaukee tools, is everything's bulky. Even the end of the tape is bulkier than, in all honesty, it really needs to be for most functions. And the thickness of the actual measuring tape is my biggest additional issue. I'm sure that they've probably dealt with it in later models, but when you've got an extra quarter or half an inch worth of thickness on your measuring tape, you are just adding a lot more difficulty to regular use. And especially if you are wearing a belt as a carpenter or worker of any kind, try it out in your belt, or if you are just starting out in the trades, try shoving it into where the measuring tape goes and see if it actually fits. Now, one of the nice things that I did like from the Milwaukee tape is the actual texture of the tape itself. This one, from its time, which is about 10 years old now, it actually has a little bit of a grip to it, so it is actually quite nice for holding on to and restricting the movement. But for overall, that's not enough for me to actually be sold on this opposed to either one of these two. Not to mention that this was at least 3 times the cost of one of these, which, if I was still framing, going through that and going through this each time I needed a new tape would be a major difference. Now, you can get cheaper tapes, you can get other ones that are even better, I'm sure. But locally, and at the time when I was buying, like, I bought 10, 15 of these at the same time, worrying that maybe they were going to go the same way as the Max Steels at the time. And I still have a lot of tapes left because I'm not doing as much framing nowadays. So hopefully this has been enlightening. And if anybody can enlighten me on if they've got another batch of these sitting around, I would love to take a batch of it. Thank you very much. Have a great day.